All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a trip through one of the most incredible systems in your entire body. We're talking about your circulatory system. Think of it less like a system and more like a massive biological superhighway that's working nonstop to keep you alive. I mean, have you ever really thought about it? How does the oxygen you just breathed in get all the way down to your big toe? Or how does the energy from your breakfast reach your brain? Well, that's the magic of this system, and we're about to follow a single drop of blood on its amazing round-the-clock journey. So every big journey needs a starting point, right? A command center. And for our blood, that's mission control, the heart. This is the engine, the tireless pump that powers this entire incredible network. And this isn't just any old pump. We're talking about a powerhouse. It's this brilliant muscular organ that beats something like 100,000 times a day, and it never, ever takes a vacation. Its one and only job is to keep the traffic moving on this biological superhighway. The way it works is just so elegant. The heart is basically split into two sides. The right side's job is to collect all the used blood from the body, the stuff that's dropped off all its oxygen, and pump it over to the lungs for a pit stop. Then that freshly oxygenated blood comes back to the heart's left side, where the super strong left ventricle gives it a massive push out to the rest of the body. It's a perfect, non-stop loop. Okay, so our blood just got shot out of that powerful left ventricle. Where does it go now? Well, it's just entered the arterial system. Think of these as the high-pressure, fast lanes of our circulatory highway. The main road leaving the heart is called the aorta, and it is huge. At its widest, it's about 2.5 centimeters across. That's almost an inch. To put that in perspective, it's about as wide as a garden hose. Every single drop of oxygen-rich blood has to pass through this massive pipe first. And the aorta doesn't mess around. Right after leaving the heart, it makes this big arch and immediately has these three major exits. These are like the express lanes to the most critical destinations: your arms, your neck, and of course, your brain. Gotta get the good stuff there first. So let's follow one of those paths, say all the way to your left hand. The blood starts in the subclavian artery, but as it travels, the name of the road actually changes. It becomes the axillary artery in your armpit, then the brachial artery in your upper arm, before finally splitting into two smaller roads in your forearm. It's a perfect illustration of how this main highway branches out into smaller and smaller streets to make sure every neighborhood gets its delivery. Okay, our blood has traveled down the major highways, but how does it get from those highways to, the individual houses, the actual cells that need the fuel? That brings us to the most important part of the trip, the delivery. Now, here's one of the most brilliant design features of the whole system. Your body has built-in detours. It's called collateral circulation. Little connections between arteries basically create backup routes, just in case a main road gets blocked. It's kind of like having a network of side streets to get around a huge traffic jam on the freeway. It's an amazing backup plan. But, and this is a big but, those backup routes aren't always enough. This quote here points out a critical exception. The arteries that feed the heart muscle itself, well, they're what we call functional end arteries. That's a fancy way of saying their backup connections, their side streets, are often just too small to handle the traffic if a main artery gets blocked. So even with this brilliant design, there are still some major vulnerabilities. So our little drop of blood has delivered its oxygen and picked up waste products. It's now deoxygenated, and it's got to get back to the heart and lungs to do it all over again. It's time to hop on the return route, the venous system. And this journey home is totally different. Arteries, remember, are like the outbound freeways. They're thick, muscular, and built to handle high pressure. Veins are the opposite. They're the low-pressure country roads heading back home. They have thinner walls. And instead of branching out from big to small, veins do the reverse. They start as tiny little paths and merge together into bigger and bigger roads, eventually forming the two massive veins that dump the blood right back into the heart. So we've talked about the heart as this amazing pump for the whole body. But hang on a second. What about the heart muscle itself? I mean, it's working harder than any other muscle you have. It must need its own dedicated, top priority fuel line, right? Absolutely, and that's where the coronary arteries come in. And the name itself is pretty cool. It comes from the Latin word corona, which means crown. And that's because these special arteries wrap around the top of the heart, kind of like a crown. A pretty fitting name for the vessels that power the king of all organs, don't you think?
And get this, not everyone's coronary crown is built the exact same way. This chart shows some of the natural variation in the population. For about 2/3 of people, the right coronary artery is the dominant one, meaning it supplies a key vessel on the back of the heart. But for some, the left one does the heavy lifting, and for others, they share the job. It's just a fascinating little reminder that we're all a bit different on the inside.
This whole system is just a marvel of biological engineering. But like any complex highway system, it's not immune to problems. There can be traffic jams, blockages, and breakdowns. So what happens when this incredible journey of blood gets interrupted?
Well, the consequences can be really serious. A blood clot, a thrombosis in one of those coronary arteries, that's like a 5-car pileup that shuts down the whole highway. We call it a heart attack. A partial blockage is more like a lane closure, causing a major traffic jam, and that chest pain we know as angina. And these problems aren't just in the heart. A clot can form in a deep vein in your legs, causing a whole other set of dangerous issues.
When you step back and look at it, our circulatory system really is a masterpiece. It's this incredible, self-healing, self-regulating network that keeps us going every single second of every day. And that leaves us with one final big question. Knowing how amazing and how fragile this system is, what can we do in our own lives to keep our personal superhighway flowing smoothly and ensure this incredible journey continues without any interruptions?